Hello.
Beckoning Book Club, where we all look incredibly attractive. Even the people who aren't here. Unfortunately, Huddy is unable to join us. We wish her the absolute best, and we can't wait for her to return to the world.
Yeah.
At the moment, we do have Primogen.
Hello. Hello. I'm doing great. I was just vocally complaining about my bad trim. I should not have done this. But I'm doing great. I'm very excited to talk about this book.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We have all slightly differing opinions from where I thought
Oh
we would
yeah.
begin, so that's good.
Yeah.
Harry, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Things have been crazy these past few weeks, especially with moving into college and all that. But things are good. Yeah. I got no complaints.
That is awesome.
This book was something, I gotta say. I was surprised by how positive it was.
Yeah.
Suspected shit all over it, but I really can't review it. I don't know if I'm entirely. I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, I have to read more.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? You really want to read a book that's good, but also these podcasts are way
Funnier when the books are bad.
Oh,
It's
Oh
absolutely.
yeah,
catch
absolutely.
22.
I mean, what
Absolutely.
can I say about this book other than like it's a well-composed drama that follows a cohesive three-act structure with
What?
believable characters,
Yeah, we're
and a
talking
really
about
interesting take on the whole like dating a vampire thing.
yeah. So shall we begin with the story of it?
Oh yeah.
I am not gonna lead this one because I didn't read all of the book.
Harry. Harry, my boy.
All right.
Harry,
So
my
there's
boy.
a Setite named Hesha, and he's got a little immortal girlfriend, and they find the Eye of Hazimel in an old antique shop. Then they try to figure out that Eye of Hazimel. And
Really?
What?
did I read the wrong book?
The eye of, they never find the eye though.
They do-
It's not the
They-
Eye of is it the Eye of Hazimel?
No,
Or maybe it's another artifact I'm
Sleipnir.
thinking of.
There is an eye. There is
There is an eye.
Oh
it's
yeah,
not
there's
the-
an eye. Yeah.
It's a bead. It's a
There-
bead that's part of an old statue.
And
I
there
did
is-
get that far.
There are more beads, but I will get to that
Yes.
when we get to there, because the second bead, I have no idea how that appeared in his possession.
In my defense, brain tired.
It's fine. No.
No, that's fair enough.
The
This
crow,
is like,
a crow
what,
and
8
his
a.m.?
son collaborated to make it impossible for me to
Oh,
uh,
bastards.
wake up at a reasonable hour.
Fair enough.
But it kind of starts in
That's
media
your
res,
opinions.
right? With her shackled to the desk and ready to face the morning sun because she's.
It has an interesting use of the bit where it's like 8 a.m. New York, 12th of July. And then it's like, should this woman shackled to an old desk and stuff? And then the next part of the chapter is like a month in the past. She's attending to this same desk and like
Yeah,
rubbing it down and like painting it and shit because she works in antiques. And her name is Elizabeth. We should
Yes.
tell you her name.
Liz.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And she works for a very fancy company who sells antiques, and they deal with all sorts of high-end customers, high-end antiques. And she has a particular love for this desk that is not expensive. It's not important in any historical way. It's
cherry
just
wood,
a nice
right?
old desk. Yeah, it's like described as a nice desk,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a nice piece,
Yeah.
but it's not anything anyone would pay a
It's
lot
not
of
like
money
some,
to have.
you know, George the Third from the colonial era or
no.
something like that.
But
Yeah.
she,
You know, this game. Have any of you read Salem's Lot by Stephen King?
No.
You should. It's a great vampire book.
Is it better
It's
than this
legitimately
one?
very good. And
yeah, is it better than this one?
I would say yes, but but that's not to say that this book is bad because Salem's Lot's just fantastic. But but like the antique shop, the whole thing is the vampire is using being an antique dealer as his disguise to get into the city, and that's all I could think of when reading this.
Oh, yeah,
was Salem's Lot and the antique dealer infiltration.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that Hesha was conceived after Stephen King wrote
Yes.
that, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
well
he's
after.
he's a
there's
mid
prob-
'90s, early
Yeah.
late '90s even character, I believe. Like he
Yeah,
is one of the he's one of the never remember what that word is, the signature characters in
Oh, yeah,
revised
like the-
edition. Like if you look in revised, the third edition rulebook, he is the person that is representing followers of Set. He's the guy with the snake
Yeah.
tattoo on his head.
He's got this bald head with
Yeah.
a cool snake tattoo. He looks way cooler in the revised edition art than he does in this book.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
as someone who doesn't know a lot about the clan and the Setite history, the followers of Set as a cult, this was very interesting to me. It didn't reveal a great lot, but it gave a lot of flavor, which was cool. And like snakes and shit. It's nice. But yeah, he's an antique dealer and he comes into this antique place.
Yeah. So he takes an interest in her because she's got a bachelor's and she's working on another bachelor's, I think, or even she's working on a dissertation, but she has this brilliant mind for connecting the dots when it comes to antiques and archaeology and things like that. She's a little bit of everything, I think. And he wants her to analyze this little statuette he's got, which does it have the bead in it? It has one eye in it, right?
It's got one eye in
Yeah,
it.
but it's missing two others. One of them, which we know is, well, I assume, I wasn't quite sure, but I think one of them is supposed to be the gemstone that the Tremere was fiddling around with in the previous book.
In the Gangrel book,
in the
there
Gangrel
was
book,
he was doing like a ritual on it last time.
Yeah,
so
I think that's for this one.
I assumed that was the connection, and then later, I think when he goes to does he go to Bangladesh?
Yes. Yeah, Bangladesh.
He like one of the Tremere mentions that it's probably in a Tremere. Oh no, he does a ritual and he's like, oh, Tremere probably has it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because
and he's like,
yeah,
"Oh, can't
we'll,
get it."
we'll get to that later because there is something about the red bead that I was like, what? When I read through the book, I might have missed it. But yeah, she figures out immediately a whole bunch of stuff about it and that the eye can be screwed in and screwed out. And she tries to get the other eye, which was apparently dug up by some archaeologist, Carriage. She gets in contact with him and Carriage gets super pissed about it and gets really hostile. Turns out that Carriage is a little bit of a pet project of Hesha's. Of course, we don't get to know that until much later. He's super paranoid about vampires. He knows they exist. And that's basically how she gets dragged into all of this. On Hesha's side, we also get to follow how he's experiencing the effects and the night of the attack on Atlanta, the art museum. So we follow him like trying to get in touch with Vagel, speaking to Victoria Ash. We get to know what they were talking about because they cut away
Oh my
from
god,
that.
I was so disappointed in that.
Yeah.
Wait, I got notes here. I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's see.
It was like a mystery about what had Hesha and what had Victoria talked about together.
Literally nothing.
Nothing of interest. They were like, hello, who's this? Who's this? No, who's this?
Looks like a lot of people have my number. It's like, you called. Okay.
You called me.
So it's
How
basically
dare you.
what happened between the two Bruja in the first book, but with Hesha
God.
and
yeah, it was like set up to be this big thing,
It was
but
just
no, they just said, "Hey,
dumbest fucking
Is-
thing.
is Vagel there?" And she's like,
No, he's left.
he's off getting murdered." Soz.
So
Justice for Vagel.
yeah. So Hesha is like balancing this while also getting to know Elizabeth, and he's immediately coming to the conclusion that Vagel is dead, as well as his whole retinue. And he's got his assistant, who is not a ghoul, called Thompson, who's very upset about this, his driver. And immediately Hesha's like, how am I going to replace Vagel? And he starts looking at Elizabeth, right, as like the replacement of Vagel, who is this art... I was going to say critic, but he's not an art critic. He's a antique dealer, restorer, person who works with that stuff that I don't have the vocabulary for, but he's good at that stuff.
An antique dealer.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
exactly right.
Yeah. So we already see that Hesha puts up this front as being a super nice dude, rich, mysterious. He's an old client of Elizabeth's firm that she's working for. but he's actually cold and calculating and
Yeah.
not very emotional.
That's one thing I actually liked about how they did Hesha is
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to make like have the vampire romance be like, my dark secret, I'm a vampire, like we've seen that a million times. It's a dumb thing.
Yeah, there's even
With
a
Hesha, his dark secret is not that he's a vampire, it's that he's an asshole.
Yeah.
That's his secret.
Can I quote here?
yeah.
This is from page 144. I bookmarked it.
Oh,
What
no.
are you? She whispered. Hesha paused. He licked his lips and his hands tightened involuntarily over hers. Deathless. This is literally Twilight, except he's not.
Yeah,
sparkling.
no, it's
It's a lot
but
less
way
sexy
before
than
Twilight. it was.
Sparkles.
Or sexy.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree that Hesha is always like, it's very hard to read his emotions throughout the entire book. Like, we never get to go inside Hesha's head in terms of emotions, always just his planning. He's a very methodical guy. He always has a plan and a backup plan and a backup plan for that. He's got very loyal assistants, the Asp, which is apparently, well, we'll get to that later. Rob Thompson, I think his name is, which is
Ron Thompson.
Ron Thompson, thank you.
Yeah.
As well as some doctor in Alaska and a bunch of other people who works for him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of retainers working for him. He's basically got this operation set up so that he can find antiques. Like, that's his one true passion.
Yeah. But eventually, I don't recall why they decide to leave New York, because it's in New York this is going on, right? And he has a house in Baltimore.
So, I think the reason that they decide to leave New York is because after Elizabeth has a date and Hesha stands her up for 3 hours, she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll let you protect me from this creepy Ketteridge guy."
Oh, right. That's the reason.
And then he's like, "Oh, there's other people," and she's like, "The underground mafia," and he's like,
Sure.
Let's go to my country estate cottage thing where you'll be safe."
Oh yeah, he kind of buys out her contract from the firm, right?
Yeah.
He rents her basically in indefinite time.
Let me just say that this is a lot of red flags. Like,
Yes, a lot of red flags
Please
that
come
she
to my
entirely
house.
ignores.
this guy is just a pile of red flags under
Bring
the
all your
banner
clothes,
of a
all your
vampire.
belongings. Tell no one where you're going.
Yep.
She's like,
We're
okay.
going to the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And it's okay, so that's the one bit that I feel we should address, because obviously he is manipulating her. Obviously he has probably is using vampire powers like presence or whatever. Like, he's controlling, manipulating people to make them do what he wants. And a lot of the time she's like, a 3-hour wait on a date, I guess that's fine. He's not trying to fob me off.
But the
or
dessert
make
was so
play
good
Hey,
though.
man,
He's so handsome.
For
And
the
that's
record, he has
something that got me.
appearance too. by the
he's
way.
not there. I have never met anybody who, well, maybe I have, but because I don't know whatever would do. But like, honestly, there is no circumstance in which I'm waiting like 3 hours for someone. I'm a generous
Free
person.
dinner.
If they're
Free
an hour
dinner.
late,
He pays for her dinner. I would say.
yeah, like 3 hours.
I wouldn't go on a
that's-
second date. I'd eat the food.
yeah.
But yeah.
He's manipulating people. Obviously, like, she ignores all the red flags where he's like, yeah, I had this dark, mysterious past. Don't worry about it.
It's not that she's ignoring the red flags, because I think she's a little bit iffy about it. But then her friend, who is the niece of the owner of the firm, is like, "You should totally date him."
Oh yeah,
so
she's
she's
like,
like,
"You should
okay.
date him so that we can get more money."
Yeah, pretty much. She's like, he's got huge tracts of land. You should totally get together with him.
Now go put your dollar in the Monty Python reference
Yeah,
jar.
sorry about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's there's a whole bunch of circumstances that kind of make her go, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah. And at the end, he's like, there's one bit later on where he's like, "I don't like to use supernatural ways of manipulating people." And it's like, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's such an asshole. I love him.
Yeah.
Hesha follows the path of Typhon. Like he's super duper religious around Set and the whole thing, like the path. So he's all about manipulating. Like he doesn't even care about mortals. Like that's something. If you want to go into the meta about it, there is nothing in the path of Typhon about treating mortals as equals. So literally, when he at one point drains a woman completely and discards her body in an alley, that's much later, of course, that wouldn't even register to him. So that's the kind of person that he is in terms of how much he cares about people. And this is important because a lot of times Elizabeth goes like, oh, he actually does care about me. No, never. He never cares about her.
It's always described as him putting on an act, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always like, I tried to avoid her gaze in a way that would imply that I'm just not looking at her and not trying to avoid her. Like he's very super specific about how he composes himself and uses his body language and words in very, very manipulative, specific ways to get what he wants out of people. It's very cool.
Yeah, and unlike all of Leopold's internal dialogues or monologues, something actually happens, and they're fairly short in this book. So already much better than the Toreador book.
I'm really glad we didn't get to see Leo.
Yeah. Oh, we did. Did for
we?
Well, maybe you have.
I might have skipped that.
It's a very, very brief little moment in the last part of the book.
Half an hour ago, I had 100 pages still to read.
Ooh.
So I was like, skip to the end.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit iffy on the ending.
I'm gonna get into the last part of the book because that's where I feel it completely falls apart. This book, but not completely. That's rude. But not even true. But it definitely peters out for me.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
But they go to this like really super secure house to escape the Sabbat trying to tear up the east coast of the US. Meanwhile, Elizabeth works for Hesha, like restoring paintings, that sort of thing, doing her job, and like trying to flirt with him, and he's like having none of it. And slowly she subconsciously, and it's described in a way where we're not sure whether she's truly getting the full picture of exactly what's happening or whether she's just like intuiting it or like reacting in weird ways or like, I don't know, secretly a spy or something. That's like one of the things that went through my head, which was interesting. But she starts to pick up on like the ways different retainers of Hesha treat her, and she starts to be afraid of one of them and like from there twigs on a bunch of stuff. And without admitting to herself, slowly, and this is the bit I didn't understand and was also one of the most interesting parts of the book, is when she sleepwalks, like, is that supernatural or is she just like is subconsciously attracted to Hesha's secret vampire self?
It's never fully explained, but she does do stuff in the book that has correlations to stuff that happens in the Time of Thin Bloods, that source book about like prophetic visions. And we can outright say that the Week of Nightmares, the whole Zapathazura, the antediluvian of the Ravnos waking up and causing a fuss, that is that happens during this book. And the period leading up to that had psychically sensitive individuals would start having visions, prophetic visions about it, would start having trance states where they would write about it. So she's apparently a psychic to some degree. She has prophetic dreams several times, I believe, in the book, and she sleepwalks, of course, which leads to her eventually finding Hesha's body. Am I skipping ahead too much now? Because I feel like a lot of the part when they're in Hesha's house, not a lot happens.
It felt like playing for time.
Yeah, it was like very much buffering.
They were stretching out the bit where she figures out that he's a vampire and there's a lot of iffy stuff.
Yeah.
And like
And he's tempted to drain her by the beast.
Oh yeah. The beast reacts in weird ways around
Yeah,
her. He
yeah.
is intrigued by this one person in ways he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's like the next important part. After he
Yeah.
kidnaps her, she sleepwalks into the place he's sleeping during the day,
Which is full
because
of snakes.
Oh yeah, there's snakes everywhere.
Yeah. Literally
Yep.
everywhere. And
Copperheads?
yeah. Sorry?
I don't. Copperhead snakes?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that what they call
copperheads
them?
mostly.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about copperheads.
They are venomous. They live in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Mainly
Oh,
in the
they-
South, but there's some around here.
Yeah.
They're
Just-
pretty snakes.
There's a
Just don't want to touch them.
No, they're nasty. Most of the people working for Hesha know not to go into his tomb when he's sleeping. He has this ancient Egypt themed tomb where he sleeps. But she goes in. She manages to because she gets Vagel's room, right? She inherits all of his stuff. Vagel, by the way, we should probably point out, is not the child of Hesha, although you would not. Like, you would be led to believe that there's a relationship there. He's just his protege, basically. But she gets Vagel's room. She sleepwalks into Hesha's room. She gets snakes all over herself, like, as they slither around her neck and wrists and stuff. And Thompson, we've missed this part, of course, he's considering getting embraced by Hesha. He's been given the offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hesha offers and is like, yeah, you don't really know as much as you think you know about this, but the offer's there, and like, if you wanna graduate, then
Yeah, so Thompson is also like a secondary protagonist of a sort in this book, I'd say, because he
Yeah.
also undergoes like a character development. Because initially he's like, "Yeah, I want to do it," and his first task is to become like a big brother to Elizabeth, like kind of go with the family angle. Hesha basically tells him to do that, and he starts getting really fond of Elizabeth. So when he sees her in Hesha's room crying over his dead body in her sleep, surrounded by poisonous copperheads, it's like, oh no, and runs in to save her, gets bit a bunch of times, but she has no memory of this, I think.
yeah, she just has the sort of metaphorical dream that represents those events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She also meets the Asp, which is two people. Hesha's hired assassins.
One of whom she is afraid of,
Yeah.
and who she started to twig was weird.
Yeah.
And then when like the twins swapped out, she was like, "Oh, that guy's normal again.
Yeah.
That's strange."
Yeah, so she was getting
And
the
one of them's a
weird
really
vibe.
bad cook, which I think is funny.
Yeah, it was great. It's like, yeah, we're having sandwiches today with tuna. Enjoy. The other one's like, I'm making you an omelet. It's like, so I think it was good writing all throughout the book. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't think there was anything wrong with the quality of writing and the storytelling. I do, however, think that maybe the author would have needed another 100 pages, maybe, to flesh out
I
the
don't
book.
know. Maybe a 100 less would be perfect for me.
Yes, in terms of how much of the story is actually relevant to the story, I would agree that 100 less pages. Because around page 160, this is a 270-page pocketbook, they go like, we're going to go to Bangladesh, because that's where the power is coming from, that's powering the Eye. Hesha wants the Eye of Hazimel. Like you were talking about, Harry. Hesha wanted it, Vagel went to get it, Vagel lost it and died, so Hesha's like, where's the Eye? But we never get to know why he wants the Eye.
Yep. And off to Bangladesh.
Yeah, off to Bangladesh, I guess. And of course, he's got friends over there as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a really weird scene in a coffee shop where he's like gathering information, and fortunately, the entire Bangladesh thing is truncated into, I'm getting information, we're learning interesting things about what is going on. We meet a Tremere, we meet a Nosferatu, and we meet another Setite, and then they go home
Yeah.
because the Tremere dies after saying, there's weird magic power coming from this place to the Eye, which is still in Atlanta as far as I know.
Yeah. But it's not in New York. Except it is a little bit
Atlanta,
later.
a place famously not New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's what I it's America. It's pretty much the same place, right?
Yeah, of course. It's not like there's 2,000 miles between them.
I know.
Yeah.
But
That's more than the entirety of my country.
let me just there we go. Yeah, he gets acquainted with the locals. Elizabeth has to go to a shit ton of dinners with him where he meets a bunch of his contacts. And they also go to the Elysium to meet a whole bunch of vampires that, once again, ultimately don't matter because they'll all
Yep.
die.
This is something the series loves to do,
Yeah.
is just
They all
pile
die.
on the vampires and then
And then the
murder
vampire
all of
bodies.
them.
And apparently there was only a single Nosferatu in all of Bangladesh who would survive this onslaught, this mysterious killing of everyone. And I
That
think
struck me as odd because of all the people to survive any onslaught, the Nosferatu seemed like the most likely because they fuck off and
I feel like
vanish or
I feel like again this is the part of the book where I feel like it's really starting to fall apart. Like I believe the author was fed a whole bunch of details that she wasn't like didn't have full privy of information to and had to work with what she had. So there was a little bit of court intrigue with the Ventru ruling over Bangladesh, and there was of course the weird Banu Hakim assassin baby, which is either described as a young girl or as a toddler or as an infant.
which is hilarious.
Yeah, which Hesha breaks the neck off and she just waddles away with her neck dangling on the side. It's gross and weird.
What? Oh, I missed that bit because I saw the assassination where Hesha's like, "Why is this Tremere being bitten? Why is he dying? Where are all these teeth marks coming
so
from?"
many. I think this is one of the problems I have with this book is that it's often very hard to follow what's happening. If we go to the Gangrel book, when there's combat scenes and stuff like that, I had no trouble following the chain of events. In this book, a lot of times I was like, this prose is alluding to stuff that's happening I don't actually follow right now. Might be that I wasn't spending a whole lot of time on every page because I was reading it yesterday because you know how it'd be. It'd be like that sometimes.
We both do know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It do be like that. But I felt like this author is very good at writing internal monologues, descriptive scenes, for longer scenes.
Kathleen Ryan.
Yes, but when it
she's
comes,
a really good writer. For the first bit of this book that I read, I was like, "Oh wow, everything makes sense. There's a coherent story. I see where people are going and where they came from, and I'm interested in what might happen next. This is weird. Why couldn't everyone else do this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy, like you talked about, the dating of a vampire. Like it's just like with the Gangrel book, having a mortal to bounce off of with a vampire makes for better storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt a little bit Dracula.
Yeah.
In the
Absolutely,
beginning, it was
absolutely.
like Hesha was the Dracula stereotype with his machinations, and then Elizabeth got trapped in that web, and it was very cool. It was a cool introduction to the two of them.
But then they meet Khalil Ravnos,
Yep.
and he's like,
I missed this bit.
Yeah,
so you're gonna have to fill me in properly on exactly.
So eventually, Hesha runs into Khalil Ravana, who is a Ravnos, who has some information about the Eye of Hazimel. Now, shit is happening right now in India and pretty much all over the world, which not enough shit is happening, in my opinion, because a whole lot more shit, because the Week of Nightmare is happening, where all the Ravnos are going batshit insane and trying to kill each other. Their chemistry discipline goes nuts. There's war in between the Kuei-jin or the Wan Kuei and the Indian Ravnos. It's a very big event in vampire storytelling, but it manifests in there's being a lot of fights in Bangladesh, random fights, and Khalil is like, I will show you how to find the eye, and leads them into this underground tomb, apparently in the middle of Bangladesh. It was hard to follow. It's an underwater tomb, filled with dead bodies that are rotting. Never fully explored why they're there. And then earthquake, and Khalil goes crazy beast on wanting to kill Elizabeth, but Hesha defends her and stakes Khalil. And then when things just kind of starts petering out or going back to normal, because you have he goes nuts when I think Sapatasura is destroyed, basically. So then he goes back to normal after they pull out the stake. And he goes, if you bring me to America, this land of milk and honey and amazing gambling, I will help you even more, or that's the favor you will owe me. So they bring Khalil to America. He says the eye is in Chicago. It's not. It's in upstate New York. Again, this is very, very rapid. It happens over just a few pages. All the while, Elizabeth is more and more like, I don't trust this guy at all. And it kind of comes to its peak when they find the cave that Leopold is in upstate New York. There are no signs of the fight that happened in the Gangrel book, except that the earth is warm at one point and then it's not. I'm sorry if I sound really critical here, but the last part of the book was not good.
Yeah, you're right to be. It's a little bit
Floor's a bit
fucking
hot.
weird.
Yeah,
Weird.
and they find this underground cave. Elizabeth's like, oh, this seems familiar. Well, she's also been having a shit ton of visions. Forgot to mention that, but that's abating. And then she's walking with Thompson. Thompson gets shot in the chest with a stake fired by Kettridge, who thought it was Hesha. And Thompson's like, no, don't bring Hesha here. He's evil. I don't want to be a vampire. Let me die. And he dies. and Elizabeth's like, oh no, he was evil all along. So then she calls in Hesha. Hesha gets staked. Kettridge is like, you should get away from here. God, I'm really incoherent here, but again,
No, it's because the book is
So
also.
is the book.
Yeah, they also found this cave thanks to the red bead, the red eye. Now, this is what I was alluding to. How did Hesha get the red bead? Does anyone remember how he got it?
Did he get the Assamite? Because the Assamite killed the Tremere in New York,
But
right?
there's
no
nothing about
mention of
that,
it.
as far
Yeah.
as I remember. He just suddenly has the red bead around his wrist. Unless I completely missed it. And if I did, I apologize. But that felt like...
Harry, you're the only one that could double
If
check
you missed
this.
it, I missed it because
'cause
I
that-
also
I was skim reading.
Yeah.
Like,
So I don't know if that's going to be
get this
explained.
done.
If it is how I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, then maybe him getting that is supposed to have been done in another book, and she was told this when she was writing the book, but that book is released later. I don't know.
that
Why
is
would that be in
possible
another book?
because she
Yeah.
writes another book.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think she did. She write the Ravnos one? Yeah, I think.
Might have. I have
Yeah.
not heard good things about the Ravnos one, but I'm not sure. But basically, Hesha gets staked, and she goes back to New York, back to her old apartment. Like, oh, he's dead now. It's all good. He got staked, even though his eyes were looking at her when he got staked. Then Hesha comes
Never
to
seen
her.
a horror
Yeah,
movie.
Hesha comes to her apartment. It's like, you took away Thompson from me. I saw everything with my snake eyes. Now you will die. Because literally, he considers her a test. And I think that's a good theme in the book. Like, he's wavering in his faith to Set, right? Because he's caring about Elizabeth to some degree.
sort of. Yeah.
Sort of. And he's like, I got to get rid of you. You're bad juju. So he embraces her and chains her to the desk she was working on, Sleipnir that she named it, to face the sun. But in the last minute, someone comes saving her.
It's a Ravnos.
It's the Ravnos!
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it ends. Now, I happen to know kind of later what happens between them. I'm not going to talk about that here, though. Don't watch my Hesha video that's coming out. Just saying.
Oh, okay, okay.
I had to do the research, but I think the last half of the book. I'm even going to say the last half of the book is.
It started to get more and more confusing.
Yeah.
It's weird because I really liked the bit where Kettridge just turns up and it's like twang, thwack,
Yeah.
thud.
Yeah.
And it's like Ron got staked,
Yeah.
but he ain't a vampire. But he also
Whoops.
doesn't want to be a vampire anymore. And then
He
he's like,
got an out, I guess.
yeah. It was nice. His death was kind of nice in that he's
Yeah.
like, I thought I wanted to be a vampire like him and powerful, and then he tried to teach me how to be manipulative.
Yeah.
And I realized that I fell too much into the role of like trying to manipulate
Yeah.
you and actually formed an actual bond, and I do care about you, and don't, he's bad.
Yeah.
But then he just sort of dies, and then Hesha gets staked for no reason. Like, I'm assuming all that happened was Hesha ended up with a stick in his chest and was like, I gotta play dead for a bit.
Yeah, because there is a Setite discipline that allows you to remove your heart and store
Yes,
it in
and put it in a
yeah.
canonical jar.
Yeah, so he did that, which is of
So,
course
like-
not explained. But if you'd played the game, you'd no. It's not available in V5.
It's not.
It honestly is a pretty
unfortunately.
overpowered ability, and it's very much like a plot device.
There is a similar ability for it's a blood magic ritual.
Oh,
where you
yeah,
turn
yeah,
your heart
yeah,
to
that's right.
stone.
Mm,
Similar
oh, yeah.
effect, but not as cool because you become emotionless.
Yeah, but I agree that Thompson's arc is really nice. I like the part where he falls asleep in sunlight. Like I think this is still in Bangladesh. Hesha goes to sleep in the same room as Elizabeth after feeding from her, and Thompson's like opening up the window, looking at the sun, and then he just kind of lies down in the sun and falls asleep in it. I think it's symbolically very like his journey is interesting to follow, but I think as a character, like yeah, he's an ex-cop, he's into whodunits, not a very deep character in many regards, but
Well, he's
works.
only got one book to really
Fair.
elucidate on exactly who and what he is. So I think they did a pretty good job.
he's sympathetic. Absolutely.
As is Elizabeth,
Yeah.
because I feel like as she's being manipulated, she sort of starts to realize it, even subconsciously. And then there's throughout the middle to late part of the book, there's this section where you're like, or I was thinking, is she allowing herself to be manipulated so she can then like do a double cross later? And like she finds out Hesha's secret and it's like, haha, actually I was the one manipulating you by pretending to be pathetic.
And that
Yeah.
would be fun, but
Yeah,
it's
it would've
just-
been cool.
Turns out she's pathetic.
Yeah.
It's I think the author didn't want to write the second part of the book. Like maybe
Yeah.
I'm putting a lot of maybe I'm overthinking it, but it feels like this is something she was like, oh, this is not what I started writing.
Yeah. The author was very clearly more interested in the whole date
Dynamics, yeah.
date
Yeah.
with a vampire
Yeah.
part of it, which it was good. It was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. But the whole Bangladesh part is just like she's dragged along. She plays a very minor role in it.
Yeah,
Um,
Elizabeth fades into the background. She's dressed up. She's just sort of sat there at the table, getting told what to do by Hesha. She literally gets bored
Yeah.
and is like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to eat more food now."
Yeah. I guess it shows how life with Hesha would be in a sense.
Yes.
So that loses its appeal quickly, and then when she sees Thompson die, she goes like, "Oh, okay, this is just garbage. I don't want to get in here."
It's weird though. So I came into this podcast and I was like, that was a pretty good book. I didn't manage to finish it in time, but that was on me. And you know, the writing was quality compared to the rest. And then and especially after following Gangrel, it's nice to
Yeah.
see a little bit of the two connected, and I can see where this might be going. But then there's that looming specter of the meta plot,
Yeah.
Yep.
just ruining everything.
They even threw in another figure in a New York cave, sitting by their desk, making notes. Every book! Nobody
Was
cares
there
about
another
those
one?
notes!
Oh my god, hang on.
Is there like if I just go to a cave around here, how many vampires am I
Let
gonna
me
find?
let me
Like,
find that.
Jesus
Let me find that
Christ.
part in the book. Because
If
once
you-
again,
If you burrow into the bedrock, you'll find,
you find the
along
dark
with the
printing presses of the New York Times.
Yeah.
Hold
The
on.
complex reaches all the way
Yeah.
upstate.
Page 206 and 207. The only reason, like every time I see those, I go, yes, 2 pages that will go by quickly. Because they're only half pages long. But it's like
They
another
still
file
count.
copy talking about like, oh, the Tremere Regent, Hannah, Let's see here. Report from Calcutta via Cairo. It's like nobody cares. I'm
Yeah.
really sorry, but it
it's
has.
that bit.
There's no page 206. There's no context.
A
It's for like
subterranean grotto.
yeah. It's like
Can
from
we hear
going
from
back when you're
subterranean
done
grotto?
with the book and be like, oh, that's what that was. It's like nobody cares.
Yeah, that's
It's is it the same subterranean grotto? It's on a different date at a different time
true.
in New York City.
And
to
this
me that
time-
whole like read these notes thing. Oh, sorry, you're saying.
No. Go
Oh,
on.
I was
go
saying
on.
this whole read your notes thing is to me like it's almost to me it seems like it's the only people who would notice that are the type of insufferable people who can't help but like I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna call out a few people here.
Me?
Much love, but like
You
it's the
feeling
type of
attacked,
people
George?
who pause the movie every 5 seconds to like, hey, look how cool that was. See how smart that was.
Okay.
And
I don't do that. I just do it to
To be
myself.
fair, I do that a bit.
the film pause.
Jane can attest.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of the worst, but I feel like it's just like it's the type of thing just for I don't know
Yeah.
shitheads like
Okay,
me.
It's
complete sidetrack here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
no.
Chris.
No,
but
go ahead.
Complete sidetrack here. I watched Van Helsing the other day, and I was told for the longest time that it was complete shit. It was really bad. It wasn't even like a decent vampire flick. It wasn't like a decent B movie.
I've heard the same.
And then I saw it. I was like, this is perfect. There is no scenery left. The actors have all eaten it. It's awesome. They just hammed their way up through this
I love it.
beautiful like spectacle of a film, and there's so much cool vampire stuff, and it was like, what was it,
What-
the early 10
yeah, I was saying
late
when did it come
noughties?
out? Like early tens, right?
So
I think- I
they
thought
were
it was
very,
early
very proud of all this CG they could do.
Yeah.
And they had a big fight, and they've got vampires and werewolves
think-
transforming into
2004.
things.
I
It's
think
so good.
I think it had
Yeah,
it. co-
it's.
Yeah, sorry, Harry.
I was gonna say. I mean, Van Helsing is one of those movies that holds a really special place in my heart, just because it is.
The year you were born. Sorry.
Excuse you, I was 4 years old when that came out.
2000,
Um,
thank you, Purple Saber. 2004. So they were
Yeah,
very
it's not a
proud of this
beckoning if
very
I'm not right.
It was
Yes.
expensive CG.
It was a very. It's one of those movies that I did a when I did radio. I did a radio show on like an episode on it, and I remember expecting Josh, like you, to for it to be total dog shit, but it's so dumb, but it's dumb, but it knows it's dumb,
Yeah, they
and it
all
has so
love
much
that
fun with it.
It's so tropey, and they really revel in all the weird, like, we've got to hunt down Dracula because he has the werewolves, and your brother is dead now. And oh my god, it's so good. And the first part, like the first scene to set up the narrative it's got Dracula, it's got Dr. Frankenstein, it's got the monster, and all of them, they're all filmed in black and white, and they
Yeah.
do the kind of light slits across their eyes, and they all step really close into the camera and go, yes, my evil plan. It's so good.
It's genuine.
Why
That
can't this
first
book be
scene, the
that
rest of the
good?
movie has its problems. That first scene, like, legitimately
Look,
is excellent
It
filmmaking.
may be a
so
good
good.
movie, but it does not have the absolute quality acting of Michael Myers in Shrek 2, which was the top grossing film of 2004.
That
Yeah.
sounds about right. Van Helsing.
I
box
quite
office.
enjoyed Shrek.
Yeah, I like Shrek
think
2 too as
I
well.
was-
It was
Wow,
a good movie.
they did 300 million.
I mean, yeah, I
why
mean,
is it not
Spider-Man 2 was also superior to its. So that was number
Oh,
3
man,
that year.
that was good.
I think superhero movies were on the rise at that time because you got like The Incredibles.
Yeah, this was post Blade, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, by
Yeah.
quite a couple of years.
Yeah.
I believe.
So
You also had Meet the Fockers. That how did that get 7th highest grossing film? Oh my! I'm gonna just close this window.
it's close that because you're gonna get angry about the shit films. But first question: is Shrek in World of Darkness? I feel like you should be.
What? Ogres.
I say
Chronicles
yes,
of
he's a
Darkness.
changeling.
Chronicles of Darkness. He's in Chronicles of Darkness.
He's a
Okay.
changeling. He
He's
is
a
a
changeling.
troll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
No, he's
okay.
he's
He
a
has- no.
hobgoblin creature.
No, he's absolutely a troll because he has the miscolored skin.
Fair.
He's huge. He's very principled,
Fair.
He's loyal. He's got a good
Fair.
heart.
He eats people.
Me, he
sometimes.
fits a troll.
What's donkey then? Is it red cap?
Well, now we're mixing changelings.
Oh,
Maybe,
sorry.
yeah.
Donkey's a
He very-
beast.
No, trolls, redcaps. That's all Changeling the Dreaming.
Yeah. But if you're talking Changeling the Lost, yeah,
He'll
Changeling
be a
the
beast.
Dreaming, absolutely,
I'm out of my
absolutely.
ballpark now, sorry.
Donkey is a chimera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, of course, because fairy tale.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not from a fairy tale. He's just a stupid donkey.
Yeah.
He's a
but
talking donkey.
He's
the
not a
rest of them are
stupid
the
donkey.
chimeras.
He's a naive donkey.
And what brought me originally
Yeah.
onto this tangent is the fact that in that film, every 2 minutes, me and my girlfriend looked at each other and went, "Oh, that was really cool. Why didn't we watch this?" And like, as people's faces melted and people's skin tore off as they turned into werewolves, it was so
It's cool.
good.
It's
Yes, it's
And
just...
I wish some of that energy brought it, like that vampire energy.
Yeah,
Was,
I think vampires were like an all-time low in 2004, because then Twilight was like in 2008,
right? 2008. Let me look.
I think, because that's when it started going up again. You got like Vampire Diaries.
2008.
stuff like that.
2008, yep.
Yeah. So that was like the rise of superheroes, which of course continued for quite a while,
God,
and
the
the
five
Fockers
things-
franchise, which is crucial to early 2000s.
there were 3 of those, weren't there?
Yeah, I think
There
so.
were 3.
Oh my god.
First of all, over 5
First of all,
films for-
meet the four. You have a
Meet
fourth
the
movie right there in
Forkers.
the title. Meet the Forkers. But anyway.
Hire us, Hollywood, to do
Yeah.
your names. The Pixar guy makes $1 million a year, and he came up with Cars. Does genuinely make $1 million a year.
Well,
Toy
clearly,
Story, he says.
clearly it should have been called
getting
Behind
a
the Wheels
300,000.
because there's nobody there. But anyway,
Yep.
That's the real mystery.
yeah. How do they gas themselves? And never mind. In Cars.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't think.
just a coffee. It's the equivalent of a coffee enema.
Oh my god.
There's the uncensored version of Cars.
Fuck yeah, dude.
The Underworld movies. We got a question from the chat there. Now, I'm gonna come out and say I've only seen the first Underworld movie. I liked it up until the werewolf vampire hybrid. That was a blue Smurf. At that point, I was like, I hate this. I don't
was
want to
good.
see
I
any
like
more
that
of this, and I turn it off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That might have been short-sighted of me, but that ruined the entire movie.
To be fair,
Wow.
all those movies are dog shit. They can be a bit fun, but they're not like Van Helsing, where Van Helsing is just such a goofy celebration of the shittiness of a
Yeah,
lot of vampire media. I feel like Underworld, everything's so dark, literally dark. Like you can barely see what's going on
That's
when
true.
whenever there's fighting.
Yeah. The Matrix was
Well,
released. Matrix
yeah.
had the same problem. So much darkness in that movie in the beginning.
But again, I guess it
It's
helps
mostly
disguise a
green,
lot of the rather poor CGI.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think like a lot of movies don't stand up great. Like I was rewatching Interview with a Vampire recently. It's
Oh my God, that movie.
not as good as I remembered it. Gotta say, still okay movie. And you gotta respect what it established and the books at least. But I
yeah, so the Underworld films are not good, but they are fun.
Yes.
Whereas the Blade films progressively get worse, but start incredible. Fun
Yes.
and
Yeah.
good and interesting. It's like,
At the time
God.
it came, I was completely sold on Vampire the Masquerade, and the blood techno at the beginning kind of turned me off. I was like, this is
blood
breaking the
techno?
Masquerade.
What, where they're like, they
Where they're
do the
the
little
rave and then
CG
the-
model of blood exploding.
Yeah, when they're like,
Blood
Oh.
comes out of the
the
sprinkler
Oh,
system.
no, that's the best scene.
No.
Yes, it's
so much
really
better than-
good.
where did they get all that blood? Is it
People.
diluted?
Where else do you get
How
blood?
did so many
Primogen?
people
No,
disappear
I
this?
agree with you that the logistics of it raise a lot of questions, but it's also, do they have like a people tank, like
Also-
a juice press full of people?
Okay, you know what I really don't like about Blade? What I really could never, ever agree to, everyone bitten by a vampire becomes a vampire. That does not make sense. It would never work. Sorry, that is, I just channeled my 16-year-old self right now. It would never work.
Okay, well, you tell that. to everyone who's written a vampire story.
And me and
before
Josh are
this.
going to go enjoy our
Mathematically, it
human
makes no
juice press,
sense.
and you can go be sad about it.
Look, man, I'm just saying, if you want it to make sense, go watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Eh, I just happen to
Don't
like
point
JoJo's
that
Bizarre
finger at
Adventure a
me.
lot, so I'm gonna let that one slide.
I've just started on the new series, something Diamond Wind. No,
Diamond. You mean the third one?
Diamond
the
is
third?
Unbreakable.
Diamond is Unbreakable. No, that's the fourth one, right?
The
Stardust
one after
Crusaders
that.
is the third one.
No, it's
You mean the fifth one? The Italian.
the new
Italy.
one. The one in Italy.
I don't remember what that one's
Something Wind.
called. Yeah.
Velvet Wind.
Breaking Wind in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. But vampire books.
Yeah, vampire books.
Oh yeah, back on that.
I think
topic.
we're once again in the place where we can't completely shit on this book for 2 hours. So we're kind of drifting off topic.
But it's not
fine.
good
I
enough
hear
for us
the
to
next
praise it for
one's
2 hours either.
Appalling.
Yeah, the next one is the Venture one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I've heard very mixed words about it. Like I mentioned him before, but one of my very good friends is a huge fan of John Peterson. But I don't think that might. I don't know about the Venture book. I don't even actually know what it's going to be about.
No, me either. No idea. Venture.
I read a small chunk of the Venture book when I read through the like completed works.
Oh yeah,
that's where
You
everything's out of
accidentally read.
order, and you know it's hard to tell if it was bad or good because I was getting paragraphs of varying quality from different authors every page. But
Oh my god.
That sounds so jarring.
Yeah.
Was
I
it,
thought it was I was so now I was gonna try to give my input on what I read, but thinking back on it, I was so confused. There's no way.
I'm so sorry about
No,
that.
it's okay.
Yeah,
it was
I know,
like a
but it's
trip
still,
to
like,
read.
That must, considering what we've read so far, that must have been a nightmare.
It was like reading what we read so far, but in making even less sense somehow.
Because I mean, so many events take place roughly around the same time in these books. Like, oh, this event takes place an hour in this book after an event in another book an hour. Is that still gonna jump? Because that's like
It will jump.
that will
It does
narratively
jump.
be so confusing.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, I guess if you've read all the books, that won't be a problem. But if you're new to them,
Yeah, like that's the thing. Who is that book for? Because if you've read all the books, you probably have either the PDF. You probably have all the books because at least my local library doesn't have any of these. So if you've read all the books, you probably have them.
yeah.
And then you wouldn't need all of them out of order, right?
Collectors.
I guess, but who wants that book? It's like unreadable.
Look, it was the 90. No, wait. It was the early 2000s. No, 99. Okay. Times were different, man.
I suppose. I wouldn't know.
No. I think, honestly, I think going back on the topic of this book, it really shines a light on how much of a clusterfuck this whole creative process must have been. Because I cannot imagine that the writer was like, oh boy, I can't wait to drop all this thread I've been making with like this semi-romantic plot and just go to Bangladesh for having stuff happening in the background that I'm not even going to write about. It feels like they were like, you got to cover this as well in your book. And it's easy to sit now 21 years later and be like, oh, why didn't they do that? But I think partly like you have a deadline, partly poor communication, and
what
also
I understand is this kind of book. They pick out the writers and they go, "Here, write this."
Yeah.
But I think it's a metaphor for the entire series where they're like, someone makes the bit that they're really interested in and like good at, and creates an interesting plot and structures it out nicely.
Yeah.
Then let's go to Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
other stuff
I'm gonna have to bring it there again, like I do every single podcast we do. this is the Horus Heresy. It's the same issue. The same clusterfuck of,
Oh, yeah.
hey, I have an idea I want to write. Yes, but here's what you have to write.
Yeah, you got to include this
Fuck.
too in the book.
Time to go to Bangladesh.
Yep.
You folks want to know something, by the way, about the author? Kathleen Ryan.
Oh yeah,
This is her first published novel ever.
Oh.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Well, she's pretty
So
good.
that gives her a whole lot more leeway. I just now saw that. Like,
Bonus points then.
Yeah. this is
yeah,
well
yeah,
written
this
for a
is-
first novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even for a later novel, I would say. She also wrote one of my favorite books from Werewolf the Apocalypse, Hengyokai, or rather, the Kitsune Changing Breed books. I love the Kitsune. They're my favorite changing breed. They're foxes. They're cool.
That kid
They don't
is
frenzy.
a fan of that.
They're too cool for that. But yeah, it's
man.
what else can we really talk about this? Like, I think the biggest issue I have with, I keep saying that, but I think the issue I have with the portrayal of Hesha in this book is that he's not evil enough. And I know that's kind of weird to say, but he is a path walker. He walks the path of Typhon, which is a very evil path. Usually, most paths have like don't kill humans unnecessarily. Like, okay, we know they're cattle, just don't indiscriminately kill humans. Some
Yeah, it's
really
just not a good
monstrous
choice.
paths to have that, but Path of Typhon, nothing. So humans don't matter shit to a follower of Path of Typhon. They're all about bringing Set back and essentially destroying the world. That's the end goal of the Church of Set. And Set basically killing all the antediluvians and ruling over the ruins. I don't feel like, I was going to say Hesha was portrayed that twisted. Like, we could have
He
used...
wasn't particularly evil until he just decides to replace Vagel.
Fair enough.
He's just like, whatever. He's a disposable asset. I need someone
fair.
new. Ron, how about you? Fuck you, Ron. Hesha, you suck. You're evil, and I hate you.
Fair
Vagel
enough.
was the best.
But compare Hesha then to someone like Sasha Vikos, who melts a
Was
guy's
like-
face by pressing fingers into the skull.
He's
Sasha
manipulative, but he
Vikos is
doesn't
so
do
cool.
illegal stuff.
Yeah, Vikos is cool. I don't recall if Path of Metamorphosis have anything about like indiscriminate killing. I guess like the more you learn about Hesha, the more you're like, he's being I can see how this is his big challenge, his big test from Set. But even if you read like Beckett's Jihad Diary, he's very, maybe I'm just being nitpicky at this point.
Okay, so you know a lot more about Hesha
Yeah.
than I do outside of this book. What I can say is that even though he's not like super duper evil, he is consistently characterized within the book.
That's true. Very true.
Is fine by me.
Yeah.
But like, I guess if you're going into the meta plot and reading stuff outside of this, then what does he do in Beckett's Jihad Diary? I don't remember him being mentioned.
Well, the thing is, I can tell you the whole reason he wants the eye too, because I really don't think that's ever revealed in the clan novels. Hesha deals with artifacts, and he sells artifacts that he doesn't need. He's not a collector as much as a scholar. He wants to learn about stuff, basically. So he and Beckett have been running into each other quite a lot of times. They're kind of rivals in that regard. And Hesha made his fortune selling Egyptian artifacts, for example, to the British Empire and people from England who were like obsessed about Egyptian stuff in the 1800s.
It's true, we still are.
Kind of still are, yeah. There's weird hang up about that. And his ultimate goal, like he's very, he's not in any of the different subsects of the followers of Set, because they have a whole like different interpretations of Set's will, right? And they have different temples that they belong to. Hesha doesn't belong to any temple. He's his own dude. He's also relatively young. He was embraced in the 1700s, I think, or even the 1600s.
Yeah, there's a bit where he's like, I don't actually know because the calendar I used isn't the calendar I use now,
Yeah.
so the dates don't align.
No. He's from what used to be known as Nubia.
Sudan.
Yeah.
He-
I don't know when that changed from Nubia, because Nubia sounds way older, like Roman era. I'm not great at historical geography, but he basically, his ambition is to bring about the end of the world through Set. That is literally what he wants to do.
Is that really?
Yes.
That didn't exactly come through.
No. No.
He's not like, haha, then everything will explode. And he's a little bit put out when everything starts going weird in Bangladesh.
The thing is, the Setites don't want the world to get fucked. Sorry for the F-bomb. Until they can fuck the world.
Not on my Christian Minecraft server.
I'm sorry, that's a good meme. They want to ruin the world, or they want to bring about perpetual night and sin and darkness. So, I mean, it's up for interpretation. I guess they don't want to explode the world, but they certainly don't want to do good things for the world. And they also want to destroy all the other antediluvians, because Set is supposed to be the original vampire. Their existence is kind of going against their mythos. He wants the Eye, because one ability that the Eye of Hazimel has is that it's able to see the entire lineage of the person that the Eye belongs to, which is Hazimel. So if you can break the bond to the Eye and bind it to yourself, for example, you might be able to perceive your own lineage. And if you could do that, you would be able to see where Set is, because they don't know where he is. So that would ease up the whole finding Set. There are also members of the Church of Set who are not actually children of Set, who are not Setites. You can have Ventru, Giovanni, Gangrel, anyone can join the followers of Set, which is not spoken about a lot in these books. But if you join the church, you're a follower of Set, even if you don't have the disciplines you're supposed to have.
Which is why they changed the clan in 5th edition.
Yeah, it became the ministry instead, like much.
And then
much,
they also added a whole bunch of cult stuff.
Yeah.
For Set.
Exactly, to just kind of broaden it. But what that means is that if he could bind it to a Ventru follower of Set, that means that they could find the Ventru antediluvian and destroy him. So that's kind of like Hesha's ultimate goal with the Eye. That's what he wants to do, which is super duper not good guy stuff. So again, I think getting into that would have been a little bit more than this book could have handled, though, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, it did not have that higher level of plot. This was very, very personal, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, same
It
here.
also did, like, for most of it, I was thinking, when is the meta plot going to step in and ruin this wonderful interpersonal relationship developing between all these characters? And then they went to Bangladesh.
Yeah. It's just that event completely changed the tone. I gotta admit, though, Bangladesh part went by much faster than the first part. It was very
true,
much a
yes.
slow burn. With her potentially trying to escape the compound and then being led back, her sleepwalking twice, eating food, working over the papyrus scroll. Like, there was a lot of personal stuff there that didn't really mean
push much
anything in the
forward.
end of the book.
It's very, very, very kind of trickle of like what these characters are thinking and how they progress their opinions on each other.
Yeah.
Because I think the writer probably didn't want to write Bangladesh.
No, most likely not.
And
That's
it was,
really
still
defeating.
interesting. It
Yeah.
just didn't push things forward particularly fast. But yeah.
There's also the weird freak out Elizabeth has when Hesha destroys the Banu Hakim assassin. Well, not weird freak out, I guess, but it's like that whole scene is super vague.
Which bit?
They track down. So basically, by the time of the Uyghur Nightmares, this is something we kind of just brushed over earlier. She starts having these visions, right? And she becomes like, she replaces. Actually, this is good. This is a good symbolism. She replaces the thing that he uses to trace paths, because he has this tool, right, that drops
Oh, he
sand.
has a really cool ability. Yeah.
Yeah, to trace where he's supposed to go. He uses that, and Set kind of goes through it. She replaces that tool and guides him through Bangladesh. And he just lets her lead him, and on the pretenses that they're out window shopping, right? but in reality, she leads him to the Banu Hakim or Asamite assassin, which he promptly completely destroys, tortures quite a bit, like shoots the jaw off, and like does a whole bunch of pretty gnarly shit too, and then tears out the tongue. It's like those scenes were so weird to follow, like after having read the Gangrel book, which I never had any trouble following. So I think the prose kind of got wrapped up in itself a little bit around those parts. But I think that's like 200. A lot of stuff happened in the last 70 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot got crammed in there.
Yeah.
So I have some questions. Is Hesha 7th generation or is he 10th generation? Because I
7th.
haven't looked him up, but I was trying to figure out as much as I could about him through the book.
He's 7th generation, I'm pretty sure. Which also
Yeah?
means he should be feeling the beckoning. Just saying.
Yep.
Name
That
dropping our
makes
show.
Yep.
I mean, that's like a really new thing, right?
Yeah. No. I didn't mean that he should have felt it in the book.
I mean, in the new latest canon,
yeah.
probably. Unless Set isn't real and the Ministry don't care about that.
No.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't think I got any real justice for Vagel in this, which I was hoping for.
No.
I didn't expect it. I was just hoping for it.
Yeah.
But can anyone remember the scene where Dr. Ketteridge arrives? Because all I've got in my notes is Dr. Ketteridge arrives, intense antiquing.
Yeah, he yelled.
Like, was he?
He yells at them and is like, "How do you know about this eye? Who are you working for?" Like, he's super upset,
That's
and they're
it.
like, "Dude, chill." He approaches.
And this is a Wendy's.
Elizabeth, right? Yeah, this is a Wendy's. Please relax. He approaches Elizabeth, I think. Privately? Does he call her? I really don't remember.
I can't remember exactly what happens, but there is the bit in the actual antique shop
Oh, yeah.
where he's like hurriedly running around and then shouts at them.
Yeah, that's the first time he meets them.
Yeah, and because I don't know if he calls Elizabeth, but he does have a call in a train station with Hesha, and Hesha's like, "Actually, I'd rather you have the eye that I'm looking for than whoever else is looking for it." Oh yeah, and he tells him where the person who tried to buy it off him lived, and Hesha's like, "Oh, I know who that is," but we don't know who that is.
No, we don't know, no.
And it'll probably be no one, and we won't find out.
It'll
for
probably
another
be
2
someone
books.
introduced in 30 pages and then killed off, to be honest.
Yep.
Yes.
We'll follow them as they wake up. They do their nightly rituals of shaving their beard and be like, "What am I going to do tonight?" And then Abanu Hakim will stab them and drain them.
Banu Hakim make out good in these books.
They're very
must be
much
rolling
the
in it.
Deus Ex Machina of this book series so far.
When in doubt, drop a Banu Hakim and
Yeah.
just remove the problem character.
Except for one. Everyone's favorite, Parmesan.
I can't wait for him to come back.
Yeah, I want to see what happens to him.
At this point, we're four books in.
Yeah,
Four
this is
books
the
in.
fourth book, yeah.
I am so intrigued to see how we're going to have new characters introduced, but also all the old characters introduced.
There are
and, like,
so many
finish off
characters,
this.
Josh. There's so many characters.
It's fine. The Banu Hakim will kill them. I'm not
Yeah,
worried
yeah.
about how many characters there are.
I mean, we
Yeah,
barely met Ashling yet. Sturridge?
Oh
We'll meet him for a tiny bit,
Ashton
and then-
Sturbridge, I think.
In come the Banu
No,
Hakim.
no. She'll be around.
I'm assuming.
Bummer.
that's from
Yeah,
Edward,
she's
right?
in the shadows. I mean, she's in Coteries of New York, amongst other games, so she's been around lately.
Well, yeah, that's a good
yeah,
point. She won't
yeah.
have died.
No. Unless everyone just casually missed how she was killed and replaced in this book series because nobody finished it.
Oh yeah, and maybe it was Sasha Vikos who
Oh, yeah.
transformed a Banu Hakim into I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Honestly,
Oh.
that would be kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Terrible, but amazing.
Yeah. It is.
She's
Yeah.
secretly a canon character
Oh
forever.
my God.
Yeah. At a certain point, you just have to accept that your series kind of sucks
I think.
and just have all sorts of fun with it.
I
We
mean,
certainly have that.
we're roughly a third through. There's 13 books. We're done with our fourth. I think we should keep going.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
is-
absolutely.
It's too late now.
We started this. We need to
Yeah.
finish it.
Or how do you say we go back and read the trilogy about the blood plague that apparently was a thing?
Uh,
No, let's
it
not.
was written by the same person that did Gangrel, though,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
They were
So-
apparently good, and also all their relatives died or something. So,
Oh no.
Oh, yikes.
in the about the author thing.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, yeah. That was yeah.
Oh, yeah, they had, like, the
his
world's
dad
most
shot,
intense
his
about
mom
the
shot
author.
his dad or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if you're mistaken or I'm not understanding this properly. Kathleen Ryan, her first fiction was a mage book.
It's so in the older World of Darkness books, every book would start with this short story, right? And she wrote a short story introduction to Mage, but her first
Oh,
published
it's
novel.
in the actual. It's in first
Oh.
edition mage.
Yeah. So she's been around for
This
a
is
while.
her first. Yeah. Okay. I didn't read the whole thing. It's her first novel-length published work. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's really good for a first novel.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And like, if we're gonna rank the 4 books we've read, I think we all agree that Gangrel is
Gangrel,
up here,
then
right?
this one,
Yeah.
then
Tzimitzi.
Tzimitzi, and then
Yeah.
Torador.
Let's see if Ventrue is worse than Torador. That's what I'm interested in finding out.
Again, if you change the Tamichi setting, I don't think it would be as fun.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
No, I am genuinely excited to see interesting new ways that these books can be bad.
Yeah.
In
Agreed.
the coming, because no one I have talked to has said, "Oh, this one stands out." It's like Gangrel and Setite are decent, and then everyone's like, I don't know
Yeah.
the others, or that one don't. So this is going to be good. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
absolutely. And the
This
Yeah.
is new lows that we could plumb.
For me, the best part is this is the last book I actually read back when I was reading them. Venture book, I never
Oh, so we're in new
touched.
territory.
Yeah, for me, this is completely unknown. I mean, again, I know the major story beats, unfortunately, but I haven't read them. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to read more about that stuff happening with the eye.
Yeah,
It's-
Okay, so let's go back to the eye for a second, because we talked a little bit briefly about Leopold, right? They find Leopold lying in the cave without the eye. Presumably without the eye. That's what I
Did
gathered
they
from
put
it.
it in a Ziploc bag?
I think so. Kettridge put it in a Ziploc bag.
great imagery.
What
I was
happened to Leo?
so confused in that entire part.
I skim read over that bit, so I was like, okay, so they've got Kettridge has the eye. They have the eye. Someone
Apparently,
died. Ron
yeah.
died, and then they stake Hesha, and then they leave Hesha and the eye in a Ziploc bag out for the sun.
No, I think Kettridge still has the eye. Maybe? Unless Hesha's like, because Hesha does reveal in the end, like, I literally built Kettridge. All his exploits I arranged. All his visas and passports, that was me. All the money, the funding for his research, that was me secretly, just to fuck with him. So, I mean, he literally says that, right? Because he can't wait
Yeah.
to see when he's judged in front of Osiris?
Osiris?
Yeah.
Yeah, Osiris.
Osiris, God of
Yeah.
the Dead.
When the Osiris goes, so what's your relationship to Hesha? And Kettridge's like, I don't know that guy. It's like, but you do. So I thought that was I thought that was fun and good. It was a good twist to it. If we had more time to get invested in Kettridge,
Yeah, it wasn't particularly impactful. It was like,
no. Maybe if Elizabeth had been built up her entire thing, but that would have also undermined a lot of her achievements, which would have
Yes.
made her a worse
Yeah.
character. So
No. Explain to me the ending. The bit where Leo is there without the eye,
Right.
but they have the eye, and then they leave it.
So they find out, basically, they're going to head back to America with Khalil, the Ravnos. Khalil says, oh, the eye you want, it's in Chicago. He wants to go to Chicago. Then Hesha's people know that the eye is not actually in Chicago, or Hesha himself knows because he's got the red bead. I don't know how he got that red bead, but he knows it's in upstate New York, which is where, Leopold killed off a bunch of Gangrel and where the whole Gangrel book happened. So they head there. Everyone heads there, including Elizabeth and Amanda, I want to say.
Janet?
The person who's going to take over Thompson's job, basically.
Oh yeah, some rando.
Yeah,
Amanda,
we get no interaction with her at all. Like, she and Elizabeth walk next to each other. They don't even talk, so nothing happens there. They go into the caves. There's, as far as I can tell, no signs of the lava volcanoes that was shooting up of the ground. They explore the caves for a bit. They find this decrepit little weirdo with a huge eye socket that's dripping goo. Everyone's favorite Leopold, because he's got to be in every book, right? And there's a bunch of sludge that's dripped on the floor. Thompson's like, oh, I kind of know where this is probably, and brings Elizabeth with him. Except, I don't think he actually knows where the eye is. I think he's bringing her with him to tell her not to believe in Hesha. I think. And then that decision is kind of taken away from him because of Deus Ex stake to the heart. And that happens. And Ketcher's like, I got the eye, because the eye is missing. We don't know where it is. We don't know what happened to it. I think it's said that he's got the eye. Hesha gets staked by Kettridge because he's called in by Elizabeth. Elizabeth escapes to her apartment in New York. It's like, oh, thank God, everything is over. Hesha comes to her apartment, embraces her, leaves her to die in the sun. Khalil saves her last minute. Very disjointed.
The random Ravnos that we've not really heard anything about, but he's nefarious.
He is the signature character for the Ravnos. So this was his introduction, I believe. I don't think he's in the Ravnos revised clan book, which I think was released after, actually.
But I'm assuming he's going to be a protagonist, one of many, for the Ravnos book.
Yeah, I think so. Let me see when he was introduced, actually.
Like 7 or 8?
Khalil Ravana.
Ravnos is 8.
He also has the best.
Really far away.
Yeah, he also has the best illustration, because all these covers are also the chapter illustrations for revised edition, and Khalil's is really, really nicely done. I like it a lot. He's also undergone quite a lot of design changes. Yeah, he's only mentioned in the revised clan book of Ravnos, which was released in 2001. And he's in the clan book of Ravnos, which I presume was released earlier. So he's probably also mentioned once or twice in the revised core book. They like to use their signature characters for examples for rules, so that's probably where he shows up.
Fair enough. Okay. So we're assuming that Hesha has the eye.
I think
because they were like, we'll leave these here and nothing will go wrong.
Yeah.
Job done.
See, this is where I'm confused because of reasons that I cannot divulge because that would be spoilery.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's left very vague. Because again, Hesha doesn't actually get staked into torpor.
No.
So it would be
dead.
So it would be no problem for him to get the eye. Leopold isn't dead. He's in torpor, I presume.
Oh god, he's not dead?
No, I don't think he's ever described as being. If he was dead, he would have rotted away into dust. So he's still there.
Can someone please get rid of him?
But he's got an arc. He's on a hero's journey.
He's a dick.
Yeah,
I'm sure I can find him in whatever upstate New York cave he's in. It's not like New York is
Harry,
fucking
if you
gigantic
would.
or anything. He's probably around here somewhere.
Well, you know the rough location of the park. I'm sure there's huge natural caves there. I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Hey, Jane, do I have any spare wood in here to make steaks?
I mean, you do have an axe in the car. And
That is true. My car is full of gardening supplies from the job I had over the summer, which include axes,
Nice.
machetes.
Don't you also have a bed?
Also, I have a silver bracelet.
It's all made of metal and it belongs to the college, and they will charge me
Oh,
out
right.
the ass if I damage
Oh,
it.
right.
Like, if I remember freshman year, they had on the wall, like, if you damage this shit, here's what we'll charge you. It was like the
Oh
piece
my
of
God.
shit wooden chair we had. They're like $400. Basically, it's just don't break their shit. It's not hard to do. All this stuff is durable as hell. Like,
Oh, that's good.
although there was one kid on my floor who got very drunk and destroyed his entire room.
College.
College.
Never went to something like that, so I wouldn't know.
Huh?
Are you going on a road trip to kill them?
Yeah, we're going to find Leopold. Gonna go fuck him up. My girlfriend's tagged along.
You're more than welcome.
Cool.
We'll make a coterie out of it. We'll pick up
Hell
Huddy
yeah.
on the way.
Yeah.
Come to New York. Come to upstate New York. We can go rove through the woods, and we'll probably find more meth labs than we do vampires. But
Interesting.
that's
Would the leaves be turning red at this point, or is it too early?
not yet. I'd give them maybe 2-3 more weeks. But
Perfect.
around here, like out my apartment, we have this incredible view. Out here, especially up here in Saratoga Springs area, the valley,
We
It's
got a
about to get
date.
it is, when the leaves change, one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely jealous. There's not a grand amount of greenery around here, and
Yeah.
my garden just has evergreens in
We
it.
have.
So.
I'll take
have
some
a lot of
photos and
greenery.
drop them in the Discord when it happens.
Yeah, please do. That'd
But,
be great. And then we can finally understand what it's like to be a gangrel in the forest.
Yes.
Yep. Being a gangrel up here would not be a bad gig.
I think technically, are we even allowed to travel to America at this point?
No,
I'm
don't.
fairly sure.
No,
that
no.
my
If you're
country- my
if you're
country's like,
allowed,
you're not
don't
allowed.
come.
Yeah.
Do
Don't
not
go.
come here.
No.
It is a risk.
Yeah, it's a huge. I've been following the numbers. Johns Hopkins is a very terrible website to start every morning. I had this obsession where I go in and check the numbers every morning.
Yeah,
It's not healthy at all.
I was back when it was like really fucking over the area I was living in,
Yeah.
like in Connecticut, New York, and there were in my town
Yeah.
a few dozen people dying every day, and in New York a few hundred. I was following it, but now I'm worn out.
Yeah.
No, that's just
New York and Connecticut have it mostly under. Well, Connecticut has it mostly under control. I don't know about New York. But where it's really hitting is the South and the Midwest.
Yeah.
And it is.
And I can't believe in March I was like, I wonder if I should order a flight ticket in September to the night in question, or if I should wait. And in April I was like, I'm not gonna go.
Despite having access to resources that any other country on Earth could do incredible things with, America manages to mismanage them
Resources
so
or
horribly.
capital.
they've got at least
Both. America
5
has
in-
Yeah.
Practically
resource
unlimited
dollars.
natural resources within its borders alone, not to mention the countless third world countries that it extracts them from.
Hey, Josh, can we get political on your channel?
Go for it. I do it.
No.
But like,
Yeah. I
it's-
don't think it's controversial to say that it's
not.
bad.
We
controversial.
fucked this one up.
Yeah.
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 Whatever
Yeah.
vampire overlords are like, yes, we will give them all coronavirus. You fucked yourselves over as well.
Yeah.
The blood curse.
Numpties.
Yeah. It's it's
get
why
me.
it's why you want to keep real world away from vampires.
Oh yeah. No, well, so that's a thing I've been thinking about recently. I can't set any of my vampire stories that I'm STing in 2020. I can't
You
do
can.
it.
You can just say
because,
that
A,
corona is not a thing.
I could
You
do
could.
that. It is a fantasy world.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, I don't want to even approach that because it's a little bit insensitive.
Yeah.
Given
It's
like the amount of suffering it's causing.
Yeah.
Like it's
I mean, it's an escape from reality.
Yeah.
it's an escape from reality. It's like World of Darkness is a dark reflection of the real world. It doesn't have to be like unpleasant for the people
Yeah.
playing it though. Yeah.
I'm really
I-
lucky.
I run Stockholm by night. I just went, well, we're not going to have corona. We're not going to talk about the current political situation. Everything is good in human land. We don't need to worry about that.
Yeah. I think
I'm
that's why-
lucky because.
it's-
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's why it's probably more appropriate to describe Vampire and World of Darkness as a dark fantasy
Yeah.
Yes.
now, because there's just things you don't want to include.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm lucky because my players for Saratoga by Night in season 1, they went back, they turned back they did some bullshit and managed to reverse time and go back.
Are they vampires?
They are vampires, It's a long story. It's all available on all podcast platforms. They managed to turn back time to go back and basically prevent the clusterfuck that they caused. And so lucky for me, the whole chronicle for season 3 is taking place pre-coronavirus. Of course, honestly, the whole chronicle for season 3 is still going to be as chaotic and disastrous regardless of coronavirus, because the first thing that happened when my Sabbat pack stepped foot in Saratoga Springs was one of our members, Banu Hakim, literally just shot someone. Then they got in a shootout with the police. They were told.
Harry, hold on. A player in a campaign just arrived somewhere and then just shot someone?
Well, let me explain. They were told.
Sounds familiar to me.
Yeah. Excuse me.
That sounds like someone who just arrived and shot someone in another chronicle.
Yeah, I may have done that a few times, to be fair. Although the first person I did shoot in Littlebrook. The first person I shot in Littlebrook was myself. Not literally myself, my fetch. The second person I shot was Kitsu.
Yeah.
But they were given an order. Here's your target. Kill him and make an example. We want to cause panic among the establishment in Saratoga Springs. And by cause panic, I guess one of my players thought that meant just cause total mayhem for everybody, not just the kindred. And so it went well. It was a fun session, but I had a mini heart attack.
I mean, there's players can get up to all kinds of crazy stuff. I just had a Banu Hakim.
You know this of all people.
Yeah,
run games
I just had
for
a
me.
Banu Hakim in one of my chronicles literally go, oh, this guy's going to die. I'll embrace him so we can interrogate him and then deal with him. It's like, okay, that's going to give you 2 stains. I'm fine with that. Okay.
Yep.
I've had this recently where I'm like, okay, so this is your first vampire game. We're going to ease into it, and here's some dark, naughty things the vampires are doing. I'm going to tear everyone's head off. Like, the players are worse than the storytellers.
Oh, boy.
It's great.
Yeah.
And...
it's all good fun.
it really is. It's great.
2 of my players had hunger frenzies in the first session because they used so many disciplines, despite me warning them, like, you're gonna frenzy.
That's fair.
I love frenzies.
One of them had a hunger frenzy in a hospital emergency room waiting room.
They
just started eating people.
That's the beast for you.
Yeah, my Organivore Gangrel ate somebody, ate the person's heart who they shot. They're certainly a Sabbat pack. That's...
If not in name, then in spirit.
Yes. No, they are in name.
Oh, okay, well.
And in spirit.
Oh, maybe you should start out by saying they're Sabbat before you go on about.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention they're literally like Sabbat jihadists.
Yeah, because then it kind of puts it.
I
in
have
a
my
different
other
context.
coterie. You see, I'm running 2 coteries. I'm doing one every. So Sabbat pack, normal coterie, Sabbat pack, normal coterie.
Every other week.
Normal coterie is on strict orders to not listen to the odd numbered episodes of the podcast. So I'm keeping them in the dark about the Sabbat pack.
Oh wow.
Harry, you realize you're foiling.
I know Jane's in the normal coterie, so she knows, but she's on orders to tell nobody.
Cruel.
Turn off the podcast.
Yes.
But to get back to the topic of
Back on topic of the book.
We got more. Yeah.
This is the issue, though. This is like genuinely, I think the issue with this book is that it's not terrible enough that we can just shit on it for 2 hours, but it's not good enough that we can like talk about its merits for 2 hours. You know, it's so middling that like, what do you do? I feel like we've said so much of what there is to be said.
And we obviously, because we're doing an entire book series organized by and for the same like group, we're going to keep on coming back to this. Like, this book is competently written, it makes sense, and the one main thing that mars it is the insertion of metaplot stuff to push forward this series, which the mysteries between are so obfuscated. It's like a storyteller that's like, I have secrets, and the player's like, are you going to tell us the secrets? And the storyteller's like, yeah, the secrets are over there, but they are protected by 10,000-year-old vampires who are all 6th generation, and you can't see what they're doing, and I'm going to roll dice behind the GM screen, and something interesting happened. and your players are like, I bet.
Yep.
But
That's exactly right.
I agree with you that it's very much like it's a book that's suffering from being part of this anthology of books a lot. If you want to compare, like we talked a lot about the arc of the Gangrel book, that Ramona grew, that she learned about herself, and that she was a different person by the end of it. I think one of the biggest problems is that one of the characters who can't, like, there's three main characters, I'd argue. There's Hesha, there's Thompson, and there's Elizabeth. Hesha definitely grows, like, Hesha, I guess, gets more callous, although we don't really see that. Like, well, yeah, he makes a decision to kind of kill Elizabeth. I think that shows that he's been tested. He realizes that he cares, even if he cares a little, he cares too much. Yeah. You have Thompson, who instead of going through with things, rather dies, although that choice is really taken away from him, because if you got a thing through your chest, you're not going to be long for this world. And then there's Elizabeth, who doesn't have the option of choice really in the end, because, like, yeah, she escapes from Hesha, but he finds her and he turns her into a vampire regardless of what she wants, and she's gonna die. Hopefully, if she returns in a later book, we'll see how this may have changed her as a person. But I do feel a little bit like there wasn't a whole lot of personal choice ever made by Elizabeth in this book. She very much felt like she was along for the ride. A lot of stuff that she could have made decisions about were kind of flimsy.
Like the red flags situation where she was manipulated.
So she felt very much like a vehicle for the reader who didn't have a lot of personal stakes in anything. And finally she makes a decision. No, she doesn't even decide to run. Kettridge is basically like, I'm gonna stake Hesha, and then you gotta go. She's like, okay, and she leaves. So, like, in that sense, I don't think she was very strong as a narrative character, and I don't even think the author knew what to do with her in Bangladesh. So, not as strong as Gangrel, unfortunately. But still way stronger than Parmesan and his, I'm weak.
I sort of love him, though.
Yeah, it's the same way you love Leopold. Puppy. You love to hate him.
Yeah, no, I mostly hate him.
Every time Leopold is on, I'm like, what kind of crazy hijinks is this guy gonna get up to now?
Yeah. Honestly, I've been thinking about this book series, and I realized I kind of do love this book series, but only because I'm able to talk shit about it for 2 hours every month.
If we didn't get to do this podcast, I would not read these.
No, and absolutely. Like I would not read them. I would write them off as terrible because they are. Like this, these are the type of. It's like it's like a Neil Breen. Well, no, Neil Breen films are
Neil Breen that's a little harsh.
No. Because Neil Breen is the master of unintentional comedy, and his movies are some of the worst things you'll ever see, but are hilarious, especially with a few drinks.
I would still say these books are not Neil Breen level.
They're not good enough to be Neil Breen quality. Because Neil Breen, look, it's one of those things. Neil Breen, it's like a stack overflow error with, like, you know how Gandhi in Civilization would nuke you once he got democracy? Because his aggression score was at 1, which is the lowest, and he would get a -2 when he took democracy, which would put it all the way back around to 256, so that he would nuke everything. Yeah. It's the same thing. Neil Breen movies are at like a 0 or at like a -1 for quality.
Who's Neil Breen?
That's a whole that's a whole can of worms.
Have I accidentally?
I would say the best introduction you could get to Neil Breen would be to watch Red Letter Media's Best of the Worst about Neil Breen, because that will give you the filter of normalcy and analysis.
He is a multi-millionaire real estate agent and developer from Las Vegas who has styled himself as a director and also an actor.
Is this a Room situation?
This is
very much so. But he's made like 5 movies.
Red Letter Media have a theory that this is very, very much a very convoluted, complex scam. Not scam, but that he's.
Is it like tax evasion? He puts money into films.
But like he at one level he's aware of how ridiculous this is, but he's just playing it completely straight. But then you have people like if you look at The Room, Tommy Wiseau knows The Room is garbage by now.
Yeah, but The Room was 100% some kind of embezzlement thing, because they spent millions on that movie.
Tommy Wiseau knows The Room is garbage.
Yeah.
Neil
Quite
Breen doesn't give off that vibe at all, and he's made a lot of movies. Now we're in completely different territory.
Yes. My point was that like this is the type of movie that's fun to like sit around and these books are like they're fun to sit around and talk shit about.
Yeah.
Is it? Have you seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place?
I would, yeah, and that one is satire. Obviously, it's very similar.
It's a really bad writer,
Super similar.
a fictional writer
Yeah.
makes a TV series
Yeah.
about a haunted hospital.
So good.
It's just completely like 80s trash B movie stuff.
The dubbed guy.
Yeah, and like people's heads explode, and there's a monkey chasing a man on a bicycle through a forest. But there's this one beautiful line where the writer Garth Marenghi's saying, "This is genius because I'm one of the few writers." He's like, "I'm incredibly original because I'm one of the few writers you'll have met who's written more books than he's read."
Oh my
I
god.
dropped
And
a
it
link to
feels
the
a lot
website.
like that sometimes.
I dropped a link to the website for Neil Breen's most recent film.
Neil Breen has released a series
Incredible.
of instructional videos on how to make movies.
Really?
And they're like
I'm buying those. I don't
16
care how much
hours
they cost.
long, I think. And
Sold out
they're
theater
just
screenings,
basically
really.
like, this is this scene. Neil Breen cannot be described through words. He loves CGI. He has one video
No,
where
he
he's...
loves Adobe After Effects
fair
and
enough.
JPEGs.
And green screens. He has one film where he has an evil clone from space, or is he a robot? I don't remember.
Evil clone from I think an evil alien
They're both
don't
aliens,
know.
and one of them is an evil alien.
played by
Love
him
these-
but with a beard.
Yeah, with a beard.
Theater audience reviews and comments. 500 people came to a single screening in Chicago. They loved it. Ovations.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
No,
not a
I believe that
audience
because
review.
Neil Breen movies are a
Yeah,
religious
but the
experience.
thing is, every time Neil Breen is screened, people mock it ferociously. Like the
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but that's why they argue that Neil Breen is actually in on it, that he knows it, but he's doing a deep fake. I'm an auteur for some reason.
If he's doing that, then
He's
then
genius.
I respect him more than any man on
Yeah.
earth. If he's done that, he's the greatest artist in history.
I'm gonna say
because
Neil
it
Breen is
is
Kane.
incredible.
Neil Breen is Kane.
Oh, God.
You're exactly right. Oh
Yeah.
my god, he's too powerful.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That being said, I don't think it's fair to call these books the Neil Breen of books.
But there's a similar, like, I wouldn't call it Schadenfreude,
I
but
would
there's like
call-
a similar
I would-
kind of thing where it's fun to talk shit about.
Yeah.
them.
Absolutely. So if you want good vampire stories, there's Walk Among Us, which I've listened to the first
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
and I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're definitely better than these.
Yeah.
But if you want the Room style nonsense and you want
Yeah.
to see the weird decisions people make and like pick those apart, stick with us because there are 13 of these and we're only 4 in. And the
And they get
worst ones are
worse.
apparently still to come.
This is what happens when a company has an IP they know they're selling a lot of, and they're like, we got to make more stuff. Get it out.
But you
Again,
made so many
the Horus
smarter
heresy.
decisions to do that.
It was the 90s, man.
Yep. If you want a really good just vampire fiction in general, 30 Days a Night, great comic series. Check that out. It very well captures, in my opinion, a lot of like what Vampire the Masquerade
Yeah.
can be if done really well and scary. The movie has the scariest movie vampires of any vampires.
I
Other than
really,
that, not a
really
good
like
movie,
that
but
film.
they're fucking
I
scary.
didn't realize it was a comic.
Yeah, it was a graphic novel first, and it's fucking great. The art's
We
incredible.
I'll have
should
to-
also
I'll
do
have
a
to read
review
it.
of
Yeah, I can-
comics. Speaking of comics, the new.
Oh yeah, that Winter's Teeth.
yeah.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
read them yet,
I
but I'm gonna get 'em.
ordered the first one, and that should be coming next week,
Yeah.
I think. And then the second comic is coming out soon.
Oh, yeah,
So
right.
yeah. I mean to make a video about that.
I'm gonna check my local bookstore. I'm not sure I'm
Okay,
gonna carry it.
Chris,
Yeah.
the character on the front cover of Winter's Teeth
Yeah.
with the hair and the glasses looks a bit like Megan.
I'm not looking at it right now. Let me see here. Aren't there like multiple covers for it or something?
There's
There's
the woman with the
trade one.
glass of blood, with the sunglasses on.
Winter's
Yeah, the
Teeth.
red circular sunglasses.
Yeah, the white circular sunglasses.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. there's two.
that
One where
one.
she's
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
up
that
and one
yeah,
where
that
she's
looks like
looking down.
Megan. Yeah, I was looking at the other one with the circular sunglasses. I was like, I don't see the resemblance at all. But yeah, I agree. It looks like Megan.
But Chris,
Yes.
if your friendly local comic store doesn't carry it, they will order it in. Because I was like, I'm
Actually,
not really. I don't do comics very often unless I
know.
buy like a volume of something,
Yeah.
and I just phoned them up. I was like, I would like a subscription to this, and they were like, I've never heard of that, but
They
I
do
guess
not
we'll order in a
have
few
it.
because it sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Jane, is that Gravid? No, is that comic store
They
still
do
open?
have
You know?
the. I mean, they have the.
No, it's closed.
what are
It's
they
a beef
called?
jerky store now.
Oh yeah, they do have. No, they have Vampire Hunter D. Never mind.
Our great local comic store went out of business and was replaced by a store that only sells beef jerky.
I think that's
How
an
is that a
improvement.
better business model?
It's the
I really like
weirdest-
beef jerky.
It's got to be some money laundering scheme for the mob,
Look,
right?
half of every store is a money laundering scheme in this economy.
Because who would open a store that's only beef jerky?
There are beef jerky delivery boxes. I've seen them advertised on podcasts.
We're living
Speaking
in a,
of,
yeah,
we should get a sponsor.
we should.
beef jerky store, Saratoga Springs Beef Jerky Emporium, or whatever
This
it's called.
episode brought to you by
Sponsor us.
Saratoga's Beef Jerky Emporium. If you want
That's
jerky,
not what it's called.
we'll beef it for you.
We'll beef it for you.
If you can eat it, we'll jerk it
Beef-rama.
for you. I think
We are
that
not
makes
actually
sense
sponsored by
worse,
them.
but-
Please don't sue us.
No, but we
Send us
should
money
be.
and beef jerky.
I am going to
like
call them every day until they give us money.
Look, I try to get sponsorship from a local coffee shop at one time, and not even the funny coffee shops, but the actual coffee shops, and that didn't go that well.
I kid you not, for Saratoga by Night, I once got offered $100 to plug some penis pills. I did not take it,
Look,
but I should have.
gotta make that dough, gotta do the hustle.
Oh, but the tagline's there for you. Take these penis pills. They'll rouse your blood.
Right. Oh my god. So I feel like at this point we're kind of done with this book.
We're off.
I think we're done. We were done an hour ago.
Yeah, I agree.
But this was fun.
Yeah, this is
it
great.
was- It was fun. But
We got to we'll beef it for you. Yeah, I think we're done. We'll beef it for you.
give them a call, Harry. See if they want
will.
to change their slogan.
Hey, you need any PR to an extremely niche tabletop RPG
Oh my
subculture?
god.
Mhm.
Speaking of, like, can we make a thing that we all just scream out, where's our player's handbook for V5? When we're talking, like...
My player's handbook for V5 is currently under a like $5 desk folding
There is
table
no
I got
player's
from
handbook.
Target.
It's still, there's no words about it.
I not heard any. I don't think it's coming out.
No.
Oh, player's
it's-
handbook for V5. I thought you meant like the rulebook. I was like,
Oh,
it's
no,
there.
no.
I was like, it's right
It was
there.
supposed to come out last fall, I think.
No.
When are we gonna get Sabat stuff for V5? That's what I want.
There's yeah. I need to. I've been thinking about doing a video where I collate a bunch of V5 Sabat stuff because there's so many dribs and
It's
drabs.
tiny little
It's
bits.
like tiny little.
You want to know something really cool that I caught that I don't think has been written down anywhere online, as far as I know, at least in any official capacity? There is a little screen in the V5 core rulebook. This is interesting stuff because it completely changed something for me. There is
What
a
page is
tiny little pad in the background that is saying, first the elders, then the Nodist fanatics of the Sabbat went east, following the example of Vikos, the martyr of Cain.
What page is this?
This is like page, where are we? Page, no, this is from Harker. This is early up in the book. It's during all this very well structured and not at all chaotic collection of notes. On page,
Oh yeah, the intro section. Okay.
God, it's so hard
it
to
in the
navigate.
background?
Doesn't
Yeah,
even
there
have a
are no
page
page
number,
numbers
so
here.
I don't know. But there's a
Yeah,
little,
forget. Don't worry about it.
there is a, of course there is, V for Vendetta, what's his face, Guy Fawkes mask, and a little smiley on the phone.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then I can find that.
Yeah, some
yeah,
emulate
I'll
the
find
martyr's infiltration and use of local mortal pawns. This is the only mention of Sasha Vikos in all of V5, and Sasha Vikos is described as the martyr of Cain. What the fuck happened to Vikos?
Yeah, like
Are you gonna be angry if they've killed them?
Yes.
I think I'll have to go into mourning.
Yeah.
Sasha Vikos is my favorite.
Yeah, it's just like
I
what a
don't see
throwaway. Because Hesha is also in these early documents. There's a letter from Hesha as well. Bless you.
Pardon me.
Oh yeah, I found it.
Yeah. So
Oh
I
God.
saw it today because I'm collating information about the Beckoning. I'm making a video on that.
Mm.
Oh, yeah,
And
cool.
I was like,
Where
Martyr of
where is
Cain?
that? I don't see it. Is it pre
it is after her letter.
plan?
Again,
Which letter?
there are no
So,
page
you know-
numbers.
It is so page 32 is like where it starts labeling page numbers.
Yeah, so
It's
31,
the it's
30,
the second
29,
yeah,
page
it's
29.
29.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
I didn't read all of these because
No.
there's lots of them.
Some of
Okay.
them, like Victoria Ash's letter, is impossible to decipher. Almost impossible, anyways.
Oh yeah, because it's curly writing and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. Okay.
Translates really
I
well
found
into
it.
small font.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So,
If they've killed Sasha Vikos, a lot of people are going to be very angry.
oh yeah, I would
'Cause-
say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Although, in one campaign I played, Sasha Vikos turned into a giant like flesh angel and fought the Cathedral of Flesh in New York, which was a pretty cool scene to watch. Terrifying for my character, but cool.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But yeah. Players Handbook.
Yeah, we're done, aren't we? We have we've come along this amazing journey. Is there anything anyone wants to plug? Because I know what I want to plug. Saratoga by Night, Harry?
Yes, that is what I want to plug. We took a long hiatus from that, the longest hiatus we ever took from it, and it's back, and I'm really happy it's back. The first session we ran was insane, but so much fun. We had a great time. Definitely tune in. You don't have to have listened to the first two seasons to really know what's going on, because the second season is a Hunter the Vigil Chronicle set in the 1700s, like prior to the American Revolution. But it's a lot of fun. It's on all podcast platforms, pretty much. If you can find one that it's not on, tell me, and I'll put it on there. It's Vampire Chronicle. Tune in. It's so much fun. I'm happy. I'm happy it's out. Also, I'm on Twitter, Harry_Wyckoff, YouTube, the Salubri Cat. I will be making an overlay and then maybe recording Saratoga at Night for YouTube as well. So
Cool. Is it on Friendster? I think I've checked. There's no
Friendster.
Saratoga by Night on Friendster. There's a social media platform from early 2000 that nobody uses. LiveJournal?
Friendster, yeah, Friendster's dead. So
Oh no!
Friendster is taking a break. The redesigned Friendster came through an enduring passion to make a difference over the years. We built a vibrant community.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
that was supposed to be a mean little joke. Or jab.
You see, I'd never heard of Friendster,
No.
so that went over my head.
Yeah.
I was 3 years old.
I keep
when
forgetting you're
Friendster
3 months old.
The
That's fine.
neonatal
I'm
does
old and
not
balding.
Understand.
However, Saratoga by Night is awesome. Everyone should check it out.
Yeah, give it a listen. It's fun.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I
Great.
have virtually nothing to plug except my own channel. I have been having a decrease in production lately because I'm back in the classroom despite Corona's going up in Stockholm. So that's happening.
Love that.
Yeah. So I've been dealing with some shit, some emotions. I'm not going to divulge too much into that, but I've also been writing a heck of a lot of scripts for Patreon videos. So look forward to some information. I'm making one video about Hesha, very topical. The Beckoning, topical as well. And one about the Red List, which is coming soon. And there will also be a video about... I forgot what it was going to be about, but it's going to be cool, so you're going to love it.
It's gonna be videos.
It's going to be videos. There will also be the very first episode of Stockholm by Night, the Chronicle, because one of the groups has now decided that they want to go public with their Chronicle. So it will be the second episode, but it's fine. It starts with like a 10-minute what happened in the last episode. And honestly, this is where the cool shit happened. They burned down a church.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, they don't, but stuff happens.
A church gets burned down.
Yes. But yeah. Oh, thank you very much, chat, for that. I'm staying safe. I got a mask. I got a mask from By Night Studios. It's great.
Oh, that's fun.
Took 2 weeks to get here, though. That's less fun, but I got it. And USPS, gotta keep that
Getting
thing alive.
destroyed.
Getting destroyed. Dismantled piece
Who'd
by
have thought
piece.
the post office would be the last bastion of democracy.
Yeah, 2020 is a fucked up year.
Yeah, man.
But yeah. So that's about me. That's the Primogen. You can find me on YouTube. I'm on Twitter a lot. I do stuff. I do lore videos.
Yeah, they're good. Check them out.
Cool. I'm Josh. If you're here, you're in the right place. Gaming FTL on Twitch. Just press the follow button. But if you want more vampire stuff, go to Strange Adventures on YouTube, where I make all sorts of update videos on what's going on with Bloodlines 2, for instance, which is really weird. It's a whole drama type thing there. It's very strange. But most importantly, you should listen to my vampire podcast, which is on almost all platforms, actually. And we are fighting each other. We're competing.
We are fighting each other. I think
Is it
you
not
win
on
by
Friendster?
default.
Stitch of Fate is on Friendster, so take that.
Shit.
Stitch of Fate is an incredible new chronicle with myself, Little Red Dot, the Bubbernaut, and Mark Meir, voice of Commander Shepard from Mass Effect,
So cool.
as players in a Mathis Games story-told story.
Which is so cool.
And they're all wonderful, and I'm having so much fun, and there's 2 episodes out, and it's just so much fun. I'm playing a Thin Blood, which I've never seen anyone do for more than like 10 minutes. So it's really, really cool. We're in New York, and we're fucked.
Great start of a chronicle. I mean, if you're in New York, yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. We also have a 4th person who is supposed to be on my left
Yes.
here, but unfortunately, Huddy wasn't able to join us for this episode. But we're thinking about you, Huddy. We're hoping you're doing okay. A crucial cornerstone of this group, literally, because
Yes.
there's 4 of us, but also figuratively.
We will have to catch up Huddy on her opinions, like give her the first half hour to tell us about all the things that were wrong about these books. She's she's like a reading monster. She goes
Yeah.
through all sorts of stuff. Yeah. But this has been amazing. Thank you everyone for discussing with me, and thank you everyone for watching, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye, people.